So I'm gonna try to do this as quick as I can. This video is going to be uploaded on May 10th because May 10th is Lupus Awareness Day. And for those of you who aren't my closest friends and family, you don't know that I've been diagnosed with lupus. It's not something I'm ashamed of, but yeah. On January 11th, I was told by my family doctor that I had a 90% chance that I have lupus. It wasn't until January 16th when he referred me to the ER to get some tests done because I had a strange lump in my calf. He suspected that it was a blood clot or it could be from lupus. And in the end, I was hospitalized for a full 2 weeks because of lupus. I think the full name is systemic lupus erythematosus, SLE, or most people just call it lupus. I'm just going to read a little chunk over here. Lupus is an autoimmune disease. In some ways, lupus represents a kind of allergic reaction by the body in which the immune system sees the body's own healthy cell tissues as foreign. So, my body's at a constant fight with itself. It is a chronic disease. There's currently no cure, so I'm just going to live with it for the rest of my life. Sadly, lupus is more common in women than in men, and it can affect people of all ages, but it is most often diagnosed between the ages of 15 to 40. Sorry. Yeah. Lupus is more common in African Americans, Hispanic, and Asians. With lupus, you can have these things called flares, and for some people, some lucky people, it might only last a few days or weeks, but for others, it could last years. And in my case, I was told that it could take up to 2 years to reach remission. So yeah, for the next 2 years, I'll be constantly seeing doctors, and I also have a standing order for blood work every 2 weeks for 2 years. I guess I'll start talking about how we found out I had lupus, what symptoms I had. I pretty much presented with mouth ulcers, skin lesions, and like rashes. So I had these weird rashes all over my palms and my face. Lupus is known for a butterfly rash, which covers like this part of your face. But I didn't have that. I had an all over sort of thing. Did I say fever? I also had joint pain. And after being hospitalized, they ran some tests, and they also confirmed that I had pericarditis, which is an inflammation of the lining surrounding your heart. Yeah, that sounds really scary. Also, I had pleurisy, another big word. It involves inflammation of the tissue layers lining the lungs and the inner chest wall. What else? I had had proteinuria, which meant that protein was being secreted through my pee. And I don't remember, they gave me a number, and it was like a really, really high number of like the proteins being secreted. And then the last time I talked with my doctors, they said it was down to like 6, which is a good thing. But not only was protein being secreted through my pee, it was like spilling inside me, which caused me to have edema all over. It was like in my abdomen was always bloated, and my legs were swollen, and especially my feet, they looked like blown up rubber gloves. If you've ever done that before, it was so puffy, like it's funny though. But that's all better now. So obviously I tested positive for ANA, which stands for anti-nuclear antibodies. And these bad guys, they attack healthy proteins in the nucleus of your cells. And yeah, I actually have 2 manifestations of lupus. The first one being lupus nephritis, class 4, which is apparently the most common one, but it's still pretty severe. Lupus nephritis means like involvement of the kidneys, like I mentioned, the proteinuria. This form is mainly treated with corticosteroids and immunosuppressant drugs. Kidney failure is common in this form. My second manifestation of lupus is CNS, which stands for Central Nervous System. So for a few weeks there, my brain was compromised. I had like inflammation, or I heard a doctor call it cerebritis. It affected my short-term memory, so I kept forgetting things, and I kept getting into arguments with my parents. And I ended up having these weird hallucinations, and I started seeing like weird things floating around my room. I started talking in my sleep and reaching out to grab objects that weren't there. And I was told that for a while there I was apathetic, meaning I don't really care. I was like, when I look back at it, I read conversations with my boyfriend, David, and like I would only give him like the shortest responses, and it was just like, yep, yeah, okay. And I feel so bad about it. But that's in the past. And then it got to a point where I couldn't even pronounce certain words. Like, there's a voice recording of me trying to say the word hospital, but I stuttered. I tried to take a bath, and I couldn't even get out. Like, it wasn't slippery or anything, I just couldn't stand up. Like, I forgot how. And instead of calling my family for help, I just sat there laying in the bathtub until the water got cold. yeah. And in the end, we consulted my lupus specialist, and he suggested that we go through with something called the Ural Lupus Protocol, which was pretty much getting 2 weeks. Getting IV infusions every 2 weeks with a new drug called cyclophosphamide. Well, it was new in my routine. So I received 500 milligrams through IV of this new drug every 2 weeks, and for 6 doses. That was considered phase 1 of my treatment. And phase 2 is the maintenance period, which could last between 18 to 24 months of all the daily medications I've been taking. And then we start to taper it down. But as of Tuesday last week, May 2nd, I've successfully completed all my cyclophosphamide doses. And for those of you who don't know, cyclophosphamide is actually a type of chemotherapy. And chemo isn't always for cancer. Apparently, it can solve other diseases too. And there were 2 main side effects that we were worried about. One being hair. Throughout the entire process, I lost quite a bit of hair, but not all of it, as you can see. But hair loss could be from a high dose of prednisone, lupus itself, or the chemotherapy, and we're not sure which one. And another side effect is sterility, meaning I might not be able to have kids in the future. And that was something we were aware of, but we went through with the treatment anyways because everyone wanted the regular Nancy back. Apparently the younger you start the drug, the more at risk you are to being infertile. But it was all worth it because I'm back. So pretty much, I have a bunch of doctors now too. There's my family doctor, the one that discovered my lupus specialist, Dr. Hamadi. I also have a kidney specialist now, Dr. Jamal. And during my recovery, I ended up getting a leg infection, so now I am in contact with an infectious disease doctor. I've also seen a physician at GF Strong, which is a rehabilitation center, and I will be referred to an optometrist soon because one of the drugs I'm taking can cause toxicity to your eyes. I'm currently on a whole bunch of different drugs actually, and we store them in these blister packs. I take Plaquenil, which I read that it's the baseline drug for lupus. Sulfatrim, I was told to stay on that by my infectious disease doctor. It's like antibacterial and like anti-malaria or something. And of course, prednisone, which is the reason for my puffy cheeks. But we originally started at 50 milligrams, and starting on May 10th, actually, I will be tapering down. I will be at 30 milligrams, so we've been tapering it down. Because I'm on prednisone for so long, I have to take calcium and vitamin D and another bone supplement pill called mint alendronate once a week. I've also acquired high blood pressure apparently, so I take Ramipro. And I was on cyclophosphamide, but sometime next week I will be starting mycophenolate mofetil, which is to help my kidneys. But yeah. So pretty much I'm on my way back to recovery. Trying to stay away from high sodium foods and processed foods. Also, been trying to stay healthy and fit as best as I can, but some days I just can't do it because I feel too tired. Yeah, that is my lupus story, and here's a phrase I want to end this with. I have lupus, but lupus doesn't have me. Thanks for sticking around.